happens at the end of the class, I realize, oh, I didn't click the recording, and you all don't have video to go home and review. So all the classes will be recorded, okay? And you can go home and review. It will be up for like maybe good week, and then it gets removed, okay? So folks online, they have a queue to see if it's getting recorded or not. In case if not, please remind me. Okay, so now if there are at least 3 company I know of very close to our location, at least part of like Santa Clarita and San Fernando Valley. There are 3 companies that are under FDA regulated environment because they make things that's related to software or medical devices, and it has software part to it. So you have to know some FDA regulations, which will definitely help you and boost you if you're applying for those companies. Okay. In case if you're thinking like, hey, how come software has to do anything with FDA? FDA usually you hear on medicines and whatnot, but I can tell you from my experience, I was working for American Red Cross blood donation system, and this software tracks like when a person comes in to donate the blood and how the blood gets tracked all the way to the lab, and then they do testing, and then based on that they will discard the blood from the blood bank or leave it in the storage, and then sometimes hospital they over order it and then they return it back to the blood bank, those blood bags for some other patients or for future use. All this is tracked through a software. Okay, they can pretty much dig in and see the history of who donated and when it was taken, when it was sent to hospital, when it was discarded. They have pretty much everything tracked. And just imagine somebody getting a wrong blood type. You can kill someone easily or give them a disease that they were healthy, and all this thing can happen. So that software was under FDA regulation, and we had to do a lot of paperwork and tracking to make sure everything is documented correctly, so it can be tracked. Okay, so you will learn that as part of manual testing or actually QA. We will go over Jira, not Quality Center. I have posted videos on how to use Quality Center on YouTube. So basically you'll be learning 2 tools. What are these 2 tools? Basically, when you find a problem, you will use some tool to submit that problem to the development team to tell them like, hey, this is wrong, right? And it needs to be tracked to see when it was found, who fixed it, is it ready for checking it back to see if it's working or not. So all that will be tracked in a tool. So Quality Center, I have YouTube video, and I'll teach you another tool which is very popular. That's why I won't teach it any longer, this one. So I am more focused on another tool called Jira, Jira. And you all will get account for that for good 3 months. And if you need more, let me know and I can extend the account for you all. This is where you will go and practice with the tool so you're comfortable. Okay. Quick Test Professional. I used to spend a good month on this tool. And I realized that it's not that big. It's no longer in big demand. Before it was. There are other tools that are available for free. So people decided to say like, hey, why should we pay like $10,000 for this tool, and every year you have to pay $2,500 for maintenance for this tool, service fee, when we can do it for free. So this tool is not that popular, but still some companies are still using it. Okay. So now I spend like about 2 months on it, not 2 months, 2 days on it, okay, to get you comfortable with it, to pass the interview. And actually, you can do it too in 2 days. Plus, what I do, I have recorded videos from my previous class sessions that has in-depth training, like the whole 9 yards, from basic scripting to all the way details into the tool. Okay. Now, of course, it's not related. The views are not exactly the same as the latest and greatest tool, but underlying how to use the tool, it's there in detail. Nothing much has changed except the look and feel, and some new features got added, or new features got added to make it more compatible with other things, right? But the whole process of writing the script is same. The language is same. Nothing has changed on that. Okay, so that video still works great. Okay. And then we'll go for preparing you for interview and resume. So you guys are hardcore manual testers. Okay. So and goal of this course is not focused on when should we finish. Of course, that is important because you guys are looking for a job. To make sure you guys are understanding the material. Okay, my class schedule can change if I feel like, oh, you guys are not prepared good enough, then I'll give more assignment or whatnot to extend the class. Okay, which two of you know that, right? If I feel the class has not caught up to scripting or whatnot, I extend the class, so forth and so on. Any questions so far at this point? I hope I have the answers. No, so far so good. Okay, so let's dive into some basic terminologies. Okay, when you hear about the word quality, what comes to your mind? Like if I ask you, this is a very commonly used word, right? Everybody knows this. But if I ask you, can you define me what is quality? What would you say? It's a question for the class.
The standard of the product, like what we are using, how good the product.
How good the product is, okay. Yeah. Maybe it's good for me to sell the product, but not good for your health, right?
Whether it's good for me, whether I can
Mm-hmm.
get something from it.
Mm-hmm. As a consumer?
As a consumer.
Okay. You're very close. Actually, maybe you're right on target. But what about people who are making the product? How they will say?
They have to see the consumer demand, like what consumer needs, what's been required in the market. If the consumer say, I need this, and you're not with that standard, it's not going to, you're not going to meet your standard, they're not going to get your quality.
Super, right on target. So how would you define quality if someone comes and asks you? But you're explaining it 100% correctly.
Quality, if I say quality is like what is being required in the market on that part, what the consumer needs. It's very hard to explain the quality.
Okay, good. But you're on target. Okay, very good. Quality has two definitions depending on perspective. So there is producer perspective and there is the consumer perspective. Okay, so people are producing the product. For them is, are we meeting customer requirements? Right, which Vikram said, hey, we need to make what the customer wants. So if customer came and said, hey, I need a cheeseburger with large Coke and small fries, and we gave them small Coke and large fries, that's a defect. Okay, we were unable to meet the customer requirement. Okay, so it's not a quality product. Okay. Or instead of Coke, we gave them 7-Up or a Sprite or something like that. That is also a defect. So what they're asking, we should meet the requirements. Okay, if we are not meeting the requirements, then we are creating a defective product. Okay. So what about consumer perspective? For them, does it meet my need? Okay. For them, the definition of quality is it fit for me? Is it good? Does it meet my need? Right. So for some consumer, McDonald's burger is fine. For some, they're like, no way, that is so unhealthy. I will not go there. I'll go somewhere else, right? They may go Whole Foods, right? So for some customer, McDonald's is a quality product. That's why they know they're paying like maybe $2 for some burger, and this is what they get, and they're happy with it.
I was going to give you the example of now. Is the best example. So many years they are using the same beef burger. They didn't change anything.
Anything.
They're putting the same burger you ate like 10 years back, or you're eating today.
Yeah.
It's the same taste, same concept, and they're working fine in the market.
Yeah. So, or we'll go in depth more, and then we'll bring that towards the software also. Okay. So basically, number one, quality is in general quality about everything, from software to food to maybe cars, clothing, right? So that applies to everything. What customer wants, you have to meet customer requirements from producer's perspective, from consumer perspective, is it fit for my need? Okay. So now we're going to have software quality assurance. When you hear the word assurance, how would you define assurance? What comes to your mind when you hear the word assurance?
You are standing behind your product, that you are assuring that whatever I'm providing you is as per the standard.
Okay.
It meets the standard. It meets the criteria, and it's going to benefit us.
Okay. Anyone? When you hear the let's not get into quality assurance yet. Focus on assurance. When you hear the word assurance, what does it tell you?
Assurance means
How about confidence? Yeah.
Behind the product.
Yeah. Like either you're confident with my product, that's why you're entering my store, right? Or I'm giving you assurance that, hey, it's a good stuff, right? Yeah. Or you see my logo anywhere, you say, okay, yeah, that's the coffee I wanted to have, right? Like Starbucks coffee, right? You buy it in Seattle, Washington, or Washington, DC. It's going to taste same, right? And you go in with that set expectation, like, okay, if I go there, I'm going to spend like $6, and the coffee that I want is going to, I know exactly how it's going to taste, right? So kind of like going back to your In-N-Out Burger example, where you were saying like, hey, 10 years ago and now it's the same, right? They have the same process and everything. So how do you give people assurance, right? You don't want one Starbucks coffee to taste different than you go to another store, and then what will happen? People say, oh no, go to the Starbucks on this corner. They have the best coffee, right? They don't say like that. They just say, go to the Starbucks and grab me the coffee from any Starbucks, right? So what they have done is they have streamlined their process. It's like down to science, like where they pick the bean from, the testing of the beans, and then the drying time, the roasting time, and how it is grounded, and how the coffee is made. Everything is measurable, and they're constantly monitoring it. So that's why when you enter any of the stores, it tastes the same. Okay. So they are giving assurance on the quality. Look, this quality, we are giving you assurance, but here quality could be for anything. So quality assurance applies for any process, actually. Okay, any process where you're making a product, right? But we are more focused for software quality assurance because we are in the software industry. Okay. So let me ask you an example. Menaka, what do you like to cook? What is your specialty when it comes to cooking? Vegetarian what? Vegetarian dal. Give me a little bit something that is a little complex than dal. I'm sorry, what? Okra? Oh, okay, okra. Okay, okra curry or something like that. Okay. Okay, let's say you are in a business of catering, and I have a party, and I want to get into this contract with you, where in a year I'm going to ask you to make okra for my guests 100 times a year. What kind of assurance can you give me that what % of the time your okra will taste the same the way you give me the sample? Like I tried your sample and I loved it. I said, okay, you know what? This is what I want for my guest, and I need like on 100 days, and I'll give you the date and everything. So now my next question is, what is the guarantee? What % of chances that it will taste exactly the same that you have given me? Give me a gut feel based on when you make at home or 100%, 100%, 50%. Okay, 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 okay. So let's say before you were making to get into experience, right? Repetition of doing it. How many times were you making mistake? What percent before you fine tuned yourself? 10% of the time it was successful. Oh, failures. Okay, okay. So let's take that little bit of failure example also. So 10% failure means if you are running a hospital, you're killing 10 people. Every 100 patient, you're killing 10 patients, right? For an ATM, every 100 transaction, 10 transactions are going wrong. Either you're giving them more money, you're not giving them money and saying, hey, you took the money, or you took the check and you said you never deposited the check, right? This is like a disaster, basically, right? Just imagine how many customers you will lose. Okay, so that's what actually assurance is telling you what's going on with our process. Okay, assurance is totally geared towards the process. Now, why 10% of the time Manika was having failures and 90% she was successful? Because initially, chances are you were not making a note from where you're buying your spices. You had no control on that, right? You were not measuring. You didn't have a checklist to go through, like line up all the spices in front of you, measure them, and create a checklist. Do I have this? Do I have this? Do I have this? Right? You were not checking the temperature. Maybe your process was not in proper steps. Like sometimes, I learned when I first learned how to cook rice. You don't put rice and water together and cook. You boil the water first. It's totally boiling. Then you put rice in it. Otherwise, if you do that, you put rice and water together, cold water, and then boil it, the rice is going to be like little, how to say, sticky, right? And it will like mushy also. See, I know about how to cook rice. Okay?
What rice you're making basmati?
Right, it's different. Yeah,
The jasmine rice
right,
is different.
right. So yeah, so water measurements is there. You know, some people like to put little butter or oil or whatnot in there, right? So if I miss those steps, my rice will be, different. Okay, so once I do something, I should start capturing the steps to it, right? Or see when I was successful and trace back those steps when my okra was tasting the best or my rice was exactly how I wanted, right? And at least document those steps, and this is how you improve the process. Following the same procedure, and then trying to tweak the procedure to improve it more, right? So reduce the failure. Let's say I'm having 10% failures. What can I do to bring it down to 5% failure? What are those causes of 10% failure? I'll look into it. So I'll say, oh, I was buying spices from random stores or random brands, right? So I'll say, okay, on this day I know, or most of the time I'm buying from here, so chances are I'll stick to this brand. And you realize 5% of the failures you have removed because that out of 10%, 5% failures were because you were picking random spices. Okay, and then you look at what's the next 5%. Okay, next 5% was sometimes you were using a different, like maybe a copper pot versus a stainless steel pot, and that made little difference to it. Oh, okay, you found out the problem, you fix that, 2% of the failures are gone. Now you're left with 3%. It's kind of like continuous improvement you do to hone down your process, and that's where you like hit the nail, and then you're able to say, hey, I'm giving you 99.99% assurance that my product will be same. Okay, so if you see, quality assurance focuses on the process. You evaluate the process and then you improve the process, right? Evaluate tells you where you are, right? And then you try to find ways to improve the process. Okay, now how do you evaluate? What tools are you going to use? You're going to do some testing, right? You will taste your food to test. Maybe you will take some temperatures on the food, right? Or you will check the okra, are they organic or inorganic, right? You will do your own testing and whatnot. So if you see, testing is part of the process. And the goal of testing is to evaluate the product, right? To evaluate if the okra is good. Is it meeting your standards? And then you will use it in your kitchen. You're doing testing on the spices to make sure this is the kind of quality of spices you have, and then you will proceed with that, right? In between cooking, you're taking temperatures. This is like a testing. You're testing the temperatures to see if it's on the right mark or not, right? Yeah, and then maybe you have a tester who tastes the okra to tell you like, yeah, it's right, it's exactly how, you know, or do the what test pass taste or something like that, right? I think there are positions like that, like, you know, Ben and Jerry's. Yeah, most of these ice cream companies, they have tasters. You know, they taste the ice cream. Now that's a good job as a tester, right? So too bad you're not in the food. You're not a food tester, right? You're a software tester. So you guys will be testing the software. And when you test the software, you're evaluating the software product. You know, evaluating the process. See the difference between the two? One is evaluating the process to reduce the defects. And tester, their goal is to find defects. The more defects they find, the better they look. They're like, wow, you know, you're such a good custom chief officer, right? That you find every smuggler, right? Yeah. So you were doing hardware testing, maybe. What kind of product were you testing?
I wasn't testing. They were manually testing. I was never helped in the forms.
Okay, but what they were testing, like open the box and look at.
Yes, they actually get the box from the Amazon.
Okay.
There are some products which we send back, right? To
Okay.
Amazon.
Okay.
So this warehouse gets the product from the Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
They check the product. Sometimes when there's written back, they don't written it the full product.
Ah, something missing or something.
Missing or some defect, or they wouldn't send the product at all. So they would check. There's manually a person to check that product.
Make sure
it's
there.
And they would, if it's a hard drive, they would have a
section for hard drive.
Section for hard drive where they would check.
Test to make sure it is. Nice.
Then we send it to Amazon or set it back.
Okay, so you guys were manually testing hardware products. Correct. Yeah. Okay, good. And actually, let's say the hard drive was bad. I'm sure you must be filling out a form, like what they found was bad with the hard drive or no. Yeah. Okay. That's what we call is a defect report. Remember, I was talking about Quality Center and Jira that I'll give you account. You'll be using those tools to report like, hey, we found this issue and we ran some tests on the hard drive and these were the things it was failing for. They'll put the paper inside and send it to the manufacturer. And manufacturer, someone from their quality assurance department will check like why we're having so many failures or why we had this failure. And then they will do root cause analysis on it to pinpoint where in the manufacturing process this drive went bad. Or sometimes it could be a component they bought it from some certain supplier, and that component may affect other hard drives, so they may do a recall to bring, send those drive back, things like that.
Probably they used to just reset it.
Okay. Reformat the hard drive and yeah. Okay. Good. Okay, so so by doing this little thing on how taking the food example, right, to tell you the difference between testing the food versus doing quality assurance on the process of how you make the food. Okay, so let's say you realize, hey, 50% of the time you're making something incorrectly, right? And you decided, okay, I want to improve this system. What should I do? So I'll say, okay, look at your process. Create a checklist of things, ingredients and whatnot. Create a checklist and measure everything. Put it in front of you and precise measurement. And then with the checklist, go and check like, do I have this? Yes. So you have all the ingredients. Then look at the procedure. Which one should be mixed first? Because it does matter when you switch around things like before and after. Okay. So create steps to follow, and then you will see your product will get better because your processes are becoming more matured and things like that. Okay, so good. The difference between quality assurance and testing. Okay, so so questions on 1, 2, and 3. If you don't ask me questions, then I start to ask questions. Loanne, are you okay with so far with 1, 2, and 3?
Yes, I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? No?
No, not right now.
Gone once, twice, 3, sold, boom. Okay. Okay, so can someone tell me what is software?
Software is written code
Okay.
behind the product, which is like, for example, like Excel. We are doing Excel, but behind Excel, something has been written there. So that is what we call it. Like example, I'm just giving an example.
Yeah.
So the code written behind the application.
Code written behind the application. Okay. Okay. Do you all agree with that? Yeah, sort of. You're close, right? But maybe someone who will be more IT person, they will challenge this, right? A little bit more. But one thing you realize that sometimes you see something like word quality assurance and software. Yeah, you know it. But when someone says, okay, so define me what it is, you're suddenly like lost. Oh my God, right?
Yes.
Right?
I think
Yeah.
hardware is the part for the computer, and software is the thing that the computer uses.
Yeah. Hardware would be computer itself. Software is something that is non-tangible, right? You cannot touch it, right? And it's basically lines of instruction for your microprocessor. Okay, these are lines of instruction that you give for the microprocessor what to do. Okay. Let me see. Looks like someone is. Okay. All right. So let's dive a little bit more deep before we get into defect and whatnot. So here's your definition for quality: meeting customer requirements and fit for use, right? If you want to write it down, feel free, but you guys will be getting the PowerPoint also, right? A good thing will be to print out the PowerPoint and bring into the class and make your notes on top of it, right? Much easier than writing this again in the notebook and then, right? But one problem with my PowerPoint is the background is like pitch black, and that takes a lot of ink to print. So you can disable the background from the PowerPoint and you can print. Like PowerPoint has printing options where you can say print without the background, okay? Or print the text only part, things like that. Okay. Very important. If you go online and say, hey, you know what? I want to be an A student in the class. And let me go and prepare for the class ahead of time. I will go over through the materials that Hussein is going to teach tomorrow. So when I come to the class, I will be like an A student. Guess what? I will say that's not a good thing to do. And there's a little reason behind it. You see this IEEE? Institute of Electrical Electronics Engineers. What has happened, because there is no bachelor's degree in software testing, okay, I think there's one university, actually 2 universities that I know of, they do bachelor's in software testing. One is an online university, I'm forgetting their name. And then there is one which is done by one of the software testing expert from, he lives in Florida. So those are the 2 places where I saw you can get bachelor's degree in software testing. Other than that, everyone has learned software testing while they were at work. And then someone said, okay, let me go and get certified. So they are a little bit more knowledgeable than the folks who never opened a book in their life. But what's happening is everyone is putting white papers or YouTube videos and whatnot on software testing, and it's so much wrong information. And for you folks who are new, you'll think, oh yeah, this is right. And I'm going to prove you with a little video clip. But I will, maybe in my third session or so, I will tell you all, okay, now tell me what's going on wrong. Some of you may be able to pinpoint like, hey, this instructor is teaching it incorrectly. Okay, so if so many people are teaching wrong, what makes you sure that I'm teaching correctly, right? So what I'm doing is I'm connecting myself to a certain board, like IEEE, Quality Assurance Institute, ISTQB, International Board of Standard, right, for testing. So my terminologies are coming from an accredited body, rather than me putting out definitions based on what I learn at work. What you learn at work is a lot of wrong things. But what happens, some people, they think because I have worked for XYZ company, so I'm the best, I know everything. It's not true. When I first picked up I got certified in 2005. And when I first picked the book, I realized how much I don't know. And I had to extend my exam. Because I was like, oh, I got a lot of experience. I can just walk in and, get the certification. And actually, I've been training since 2004. So I was like, actually, from 1 year, I have placed like, 10, 11 people, and they are working. So like, you want to certify me? Sure, I'll go and get it done. But when I opened the book, I realized how much theory and whatnot there is. And I realized there were so many things that I knew was correct, but it was wrong. So book world is very different from the real world. Okay. So what will happen in the interview? Because your interviewer may not be a certified person, and they may have these wrong definitions in their head. And they may say, no, you don't know. I know better, right? Because chances are, if you're going for a job opportunity, the person who's taking your interview, they have this mindset, oh, you don't have a job, so I'm the king, right? You are here to get the job, so I'm smarter than you. And if you hurt their ego, you're not going to get the job, right? And your goal is to get a job. It's not about competition. Look, I know more than you, or you dummy. I don't know who gave you that position. Actually, I can do. Honestly, this will happen. That you can do a better job than this person, but you don't have to show this off, because it can backfire. So you learn in the class how to protect yourself when they ask certain questions, how you're going to answer, because what they know is wrong. And I'll pull out those. I'll go over those terminologies specifically. That look, this is the wrong perception, but this is the right. Okay. And why it is right? Because I'll go through the book and I'll prove you, and then I'll bring in some more examples to further give you the confidence. Okay. This is something you need during interview. So when you go in there, you may think, oh yeah, that's possible too, right? Actually, I have a little tip during interview, because every 6 months or so, I will go and give interview to evaluate how much I know and what's going hot in the market, so I can come and learn and adopt some of the good technologies also. And it keeps my resume up to date also, right? The bad situation is when you get comfortable at a work environment, and suddenly one day they say, oh, you're fired, or we are cutting people. Those are the people who get hurt the most, because they are on some legacy technology. Their resume is not up to date, right? So don't put yourself in that situation. All right. Question? No? Okay. So all my definitions are coming from a accredited source. So pretty confident. You guys don't need to worry. Should I go and learn from somewhere else? No. Right now, I'm going to be dictator till the end of the session. You cannot read any books. You cannot watch any YouTube. If you find anything good, let me know first. Okay? Because what will happen is you will get super confused. I'm teaching something else. On the YouTube, you saw something else, and you're like, saying, this person looks an expert. I have seen problems in a white paper Actually, I did a presentation in one of the seminars specifically on this topic, why people should get certified. And I showed a white paper from University of Virginia or somewhere, West Virginia, something like that. The professor has a PhD. Okay, I have bachelor's degree. I don't have PhD, and she has worked in, like, if you see her like places she has worked, I'm still dreaming to work there. Okay, and the white paper is flawed like anything. Okay, but when I did the presentation, of course, a lot of people were already, certified or whatnot, and they saw those things and they're like, yes, this is correct. Okay, so if you compare my credentials with this other person credential professor, it's like night and day. But that, I can tell you, that was not her expertise, and she still wrote the paper. Okay. All right. So here you go. Software quality assurance. I have two definitions out there from IEEE. I would say do this one. Much easier to. And what you need to remember, don't need to memorize the whole line. Evaluate the process, that's all. And if you say evaluate the product, then it becomes testing. Just, that's all you have to remember. Good? All right. What is software testing? This is the definition from IEEE. If you want to memorize it, go ahead, no harm in it. But keep in mind, when it comes to interview, if it's about definition, make it short, to the point. Don't get into the mode of explaining a terminology, because they will catch you on something else during that explanation. Okay, if you can close the deal by saying, oh, it's evaluating the product. What is quality? It's evaluating the process. What's the difference between the two? One, in you evaluating the process, one, you evaluating the product. Deal is done, right? But if it's about you, please brag, because most of our Asians, we have been drilled, be I'm sorry?
Be good.
No, not be good. No, not mugging up. It's about you. Tell me about yourself. We are very, like modest people, right? Yeah. Our parents told us, don't show off. Okay, even if you're the wealthiest person in the world, just walk down with your head, eyes down on the ground, whatnot, right? And this is where we mess up. This is your opportunity. This is like your advertisement session. Like, okay, this is a Super Bowl ad. You have 2 minutes. Tell me about your product. And if you feel shy, you'll ruin the interview. So if it's about you, please brag until they say, okay, please stop. Let's move on to the next topic, right? But not that extreme, right? But if it's about definitions, short and sweet, to the point. Okay? So remember that. Okay? If you want, you can memorize this definition. Okay? But I usually focus on hitting right on the target with the shortest possible words. Okay? But not about you. Don't, if I say, why should we hire you? Don't say, hire me, please, I'm jobless, right? It should not be that way, right? You should brag like, I was the one who found most number of defects. I'm certified. I've done certification in this. I attend seminars. I can help improve your process. I'm not only tester, but I'm a QA person also. So keep bragging about yourself. Okay? Now, that's one thing most of the people don't know. Every tester is with that mindset when they go to job is, I'm good at finding defects. So how can you compete with folks who have 5-6 years of experience? And now they're competing with them. So you basically taking their share of food. Actually, not even share. You're taking the whole food and eating in front of them, right? How are you going to pull this miracle? Of course, we will put effort in learning, but I will give you one more skill, okay, which is defect prevention. See, when you find defects and you report that, and let you be the best tester in the world, right? The problem is with this scenario is a defect is quite expensive for an organization, and most people don't see that thing. Okay, because when you fix a defect, it's a rework. You're not generating any revenue with the amount of work you're putting in. There's no return on investment, right? Instead, if you can make developers focus on building new features, the time they took, let's say they took 4 hours to fix defect. Instead, they put 4 hours on building something new feature. That 4 hours will bring in money for the company. But fixing problems does not bring money. It actually, you're just trying to not only cover up, but it's an embarrassment for the company, and now you're working to fix it. So a defect not only causes embarrassment for the company, but there's financial loss associated to it. Okay. So what I'm equipping with you is I'll also train you quality assurance to say, look, not only I find defects, but in my previous position, I saved XYZ company $40,000 a year by preventing defects, right? And you all know prevention is better than cure, right? So if I'm paying you 90,000, you're saving me 40,000. My expense for you is 50,000, compared to a tester who's, let's say, charging 80,000, but they're not reducing the defects. So it's 30,000 more expensive than someone who I can hire, and they can reduce defects also. Okay. Yeah, every company will have different process, things like that, right? And keep in mind, no process is perfect process. You can always improve the process. So the tools that you need, how to gauge the process and improve it, you will learn that in this class also. Okay, so that's one extra edge you will get. Now, with this knowledge, you can even apply for manager's position. Okay, because when you get into the part of preventing defects, usually it's the manager, they would tweak the process. So not only I'm preparing you for now, I'm sort of preparing you, creating like a future foolproof, for you. So if you want to grow as a manager, yes, you can do that. So far, if I'm not wrong, I know I thought 3, but I think for 2 people I know for sure who took my class for the first time. They never did testing, and they ended up as managers. Their first job, first interview, they knock it out as a manager. Okay, because the things that you will learn in this class, there are some certain aspect of this class where those duties are done by managers. Okay.
So they were into this field already, or you're saying they never?
Brand new to this field. First shot, they became managers. First interview, first shot, they nailed it. If I'm not wrong, I'm giving you this gut feel. At least 20% of my students, they get the job on first interview. 20% of my students. A lot of people in their own career, they have to go 3-4 interviews, and then they nail a job. Most of them, they get, I don't want to say most, but at least easily 20-25%.
No, that I can assure you. Assurance again. I can assure that.
It has happened. Yeah. You have seen it, right?
One of your students, I just found it yesterday. She got into direct field.
Okay, but don't.
I know.
Is it recording? Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't get that name. She's like that.
Yeah.
So I find her like she's into direct field.
First shot?
First shot, I believe so. Like,
okay.
She was but I find out like, she's into direct TV and she's getting this much.
Yeah.
And that's like, for real.
Yeah.
And that's her first job.
Yeah, exactly.
First job you can.
Yeah. For some of them, first job in India, in US, they've never worked an entire life in first job. Sometimes I get people like moms. They were working because of the kids. There's a 10-12 years of gap, and now they want to go back to work. In those, I have trained 4 or 5 people who had PhD degrees, and actually one of them was in Canada, and for 3 years she was in Canada without a job, and she had 2 PhD, one in computer science, and she was a professor of computer science in Pakistan, and another PhD in French. And for 3 years she was not getting a job in Canada, and she took my class in 3 months, first attempt, first shot, got the job. So yeah. I have even trained my pool cleaner. The guy who used to come to clean my pool, I made him software engineer. So just imagine what kind of education level you need to be a software engineer. Okay.
Plus, like you just get into like
yeah. I'm not sure if you all have seen. Do you all know what is a barber pole? Barber pole? No. Have you seen? Yeah. You know, yeah, exactly. Have you seen the outside of barber shop? There is this pole which is like rotating. It has red, white, and blue stripes, right? Or they will put a sign like paint or whatnot. Barber shop, that's a sign, right? Do you know what that represents? I know it looks a little patriotic, but why stripes rotating, swirling around? No? Okay.
might be just for
But why that? Look. Right? Okay. Long time ago in US, if you want to be a doctor, you hang around with the doctor and you become a doctor. You don't have to go to university to become a doctor. Okay. And barbers were at one time, they were fixing broken bones. If you get a fracture or you break your leg or a hand or whatnot, you used to go to barber and they would bandage and do whatnot. So that's a sign of a bandage. Come here, not only we cut hair, but we fix your bone. Yes. Actually, it's kind of like common in India where Hakim, not Hakim, Pehlwan, the wrestlers, they you break your bone, you go to a wrestler and they would fix it. Yeah. So it was happening here in US, but barbers were doing that. Okay, so software testing is in similar situation. And there is a big reason it will stay like this for a long time too. You know why? Because the technology is changing so fast that if you are in a technical school for a 4-year degree, by the time you're on the 3rd year, your 1st year becomes obsolete. Okay, so when you are out there in the market, companies are saying, okay, yeah, good, you have a bachelor's degree, but tell me, can you do this for me? If no, then sorry, we don't have anything for you. And then here comes a high school graduate and say, yeah, I can do this and I can prove it. And they say, yeah, okay, you know it, come in. So this is what's happening. Okay. One time I had a person who had a bachelor's degree in law from Irvine, University of Irvine or something in Orange County. And he couldn't find a job as an attorney or whatnot. Now he's working as a software tester. I mean, 3-4 years ago, he came to me. He said, Hussain, I'm lucky because my other students, they have $80,000 loan and they cannot even pay. They don't even have a job to pay. You know? So, well, let's get back. Okay. So here are some more differences between quality assurance and testing. Defect prevention is quality assurance. Testing is testing about defect detection. Defect prevention, defect detection. Okay. Software quality is about entire software development process. Testing is part of the process, right? Like if you're going to cook the food from beginning to end, you do testing in certain areas, right? So it's part of that process. If the test fails, then you don't go ahead. If the water is not boiled to a certain temperature, you don't move ahead, right? So testing validates, yeah, one phase complete, let's move to the next. When you say analysis, meaning requirements analysis, something like that? Yes, the whole thing, the whole process of building the product, meaning what is the process of writing the requirements? Who is writing, not who, but you know, do they have any process of writing those requirements? Now, this is the bad thing. If you go to a company where they have FDA regulated environment, you will see QA in action. But if you don't go to a company that is not FDA regulated, they're maybe into gaming or something like that, and if you tell them like, hey, QA should be looking at the process on how they're writing the requirements. When there are problems in the requirement, how they are fixing it, how they are seeing what % of documents are generating defects, things like that. They'll say, oh, you don't need to know about our area. You are a QA person. Go look into the testing area. Development will say the same thing. No, you go fix your area, then come to me. Right? And development manager will take care of the process. Why you're concerned? But no, this is the wrong mindset. QA should be a separate organization that looks from beginning to end, all the way when it goes to the customer, and they look on the customer feedback also. They have their eyes on Customer support, how many complaints are coming to customer support, they look at that also. Okay, but this doesn't happen in most of the IT organizations because they're like, why you're looking at my area? Go clean your area first. Okay, and I'm going to show you some slide to prove this. Actually, I'll show you this after this. Look at this situation. Give you the whole 9 yards. Okay, you're going to an architect. You ask them, okay, make me a custom home. On the blueprint, you see the kitchen is missing. Now, how much it will cost to fix the blueprint? Give me a number. Very less. Very less is acceptable also. Okay, let's say they put the foundation, and you're like, okay, and they put the mark on the foundation. Okay, here is the kitchen. Sorry, here is the bedrooms, the restroom, living room. Oh, where's the kitchen? Oh, mess up. It's going to cost more than the fixing on the blueprint, right? Okay. Now they put the they put the wooden structure, the studs and everything, right? You find that kitchen is not there. It's going to cost more. They build the whole house and they give you the keys. You walk inside the house, the kitchen is missing. How much is going to cost you?
Too much.
It's too much. It's the same defect. The sooner you find, the less expensive it is to fix. So if you find issues in the requirements, it will be less expensive to fix versus tester finding it, then versus customer finding it. Same thing happens in software development. Okay, people think, oh, testers are finding it, don't worry about it. No, that is bad. It's already expensive to fix it. So QA should start looking from way beginning in the process. Exactly. You should prevent defects from beginning, so it will be less expensive. But the mindset is, when you hire a QA person, it's, oh, start with the testing area. They're very messed up. Improve them. Put automation so they can find more defects. No, that's wrong. Okay. Quality assurance is proactive. Testing is reactive. Now, don't think proactive means quality assurance manager is sleeping at night and he sees a prophecy from God, like tomorrow there'll be a defect, go prevent it. No. It means when something happens, they take steps so it won't happen again. Right? Or based on the experience, they will implement something to say, like, make sure you do this because if you don't, X, Y, Z will happen. Testers are reactive. They find the problem and they report the problem. And they don't improve the process. The job is find the problem, report the problem. That's all. Okay. As a tester, you don't fix the code and you don't fix the process. You just find and report. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So are you all good now with difference between quality assurance and testing? Do you have any questions? Okay, gone once. Luann, are you in the same boat? No questions? Or do you have a question?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
You're fine. Okay. So here's my question to all of you. I'll give you a situation. You all hired me to say that, look, you're a FedEx, let's say, or USPS, something like that, delivery company. You all hired me because when an accident happens from the USPS or FedEx truck, it takes about a month to put that truck back into service and the person back on the driver's seat. And you all hired me to do something about it. This is too much expensive. You put the truck after a month on the road. We have to pay the loan for the truck, and this medical bill. Then the insurance goes up, and we have to pay for the fixing the truck, all this stuff, right? What can you do about it? So I'm like, okay, I have a very brilliant idea. I'm going to develop an app. When the accident happens, the driver has to take a photo of the accident and click submit. The tow truck ambulance comes in, boom, on the spot. They know your longitude, latitude because you submit the photo. It sends that information, your location also. Okay.
What if the driver not able to take pictures? Like he injured.
Okay. Let's say usually the accident is so bad, fine. Some of those cases are like that, but most of the cases we are saying that we can make this app and get the paperwork go faster. So let's say you found 90% of the accidents, or maybe 95% of the accidents, where driver is a little bit injured, where they can take a photo. Okay, or maybe put cameras on the truck, and when the truck flips, it sends out a signal that the truck is upside down or whatnot for major accidents through their phone and whatnot, and ambulance and whatnot gets sent. Okay, so I have this technological aspect of solving the problem, and also this photo goes to the insurance company, and they can start processing the paperwork, right? And because they know at one intersection it happened, driver can load their voice to say, okay, I was driving this way and the other car came from XYZ, and this is my speed, car speed, anything else related to the car statistics get sent to the insurance company also there, so their lawyer can work on it. And by creating this app, so you guys said, okay, looks good, I created this app, and actually I reduced now to 1 week. I can bring back the car on the road by making the paperwork so swift. Mechanic is on the spot, towing the truck, working on it. Insurance approves it. In 1 week, the car is back, the truck is back on the road, and we are good to deliver with the truck. Okay? So, what are your consensus on this? Is that a great project? Should you give me a little bit extra bonus? Or do you have any other solution?
Yes, definitely. You saved their time, 3 weeks. And I was going 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
You saved their 3 weeks of time and business on that. Well, so definitely you are entitled for bonus, because that 3 weeks things were not getting done. You were paying extra money to other employees to work on that person. Like that car is out, somebody else is XYZ is working, doing overtime, you're paying that. You save the overtime, you save all those, like when you talk to Ryan and all those things, I believe yes, you're entitled for your bonus.
Bonus? Anyone? Loanne, do you have any suggestions?
No, I'm just listening right now.
You're just listening. But what if I put you in this situation? Would you say, yeah, it was a good idea, Jose? Or not so? Yes, no?
Just pass me for now.
I'll pass you, yeah. Okay. What about another person comes into the conference room, everyone is bidding for a solution, and this person says, you know what? I'll stop the accidents for you. Forget the app.
He's giving quality insurance, so you are out. So he's saying, hey,
I will stop the accidents.
Yeah.
Isn't that better than fixing it rather than stopping the accident?
You cannot stop the accident. It can happen.
I'll tell you a situation behind this. Why I'm giving you this example.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
If he's saying I can stop the accident, how he can stop accident? Why accident name is there? Because it happened. You are not intentionally going to hit someone.
So don't you think accidents are happening in software development? That's why the defects are there.
Yeah.
So then you can say, then QA, quality assurance is garbage. Throw it out of the books. It just looks good on the paper, because in reality, it's happening.
No, but that's why we have quality assurance. So somebody has to.
Okay. You all should go to San Diego, okay? And go to this USS Midway. It's an aircraft carrier. I mentioned that, right?
No, I've been there. But you can go ahead.
Did you learn anything from there about quality assurance? Okay, they have one, like, they do a presentation, and one of the presentation is, how the plane, the fighter planes, they take off from the deck and then the landing part. All the bombs on the plane, they have red tags. They don't pull it until the plane is ready to fly, because if they pull it before, accident can happen and it can explode on the deck. And who pulls it? One of the person with red jumpsuit. His job is only to go and pull all the tags, red tags from the bomb to make it active. And he gives a thumbs up or she gives a thumbs up to the pilot, and then pilot says, okay, I'm going to fly. And then they have other people with yellow jumpsuit and then one with white jumpsuit. White jumpsuit is for the medical part. Yellow ones are the people who will help assist the plane to lock it into that, this thing that pushes the plane to give it momentum. Okay, it's all choreographed. Who's going to do what? Just imagine they have uniform to avoid the accidents. The accident happens because somebody is going to be stupid at some point. And if you put in measures to stop that stupidity and check and balances, you may not eliminate the accident, but definitely you can reduce it. Okay, so the story behind this is one of the ways they reduce the accidents, I'm not sure which one did it. They looked first at which is the most common accidents, and they found out when making the left turn, the drivers are making the accident. Accidents happen when you make a left turn most of the time. So they programmed the GPS for the driver such that when they get to the destination, no left hand turns are involved in it. So if the driver follows the GPS, they will avoid left turn. You also avoid left turn?
My mother-in-law.
Okay.
She never takes the left. She always go like. She has to go like.
Yeah.
East or right,
and fine. Yeah. So.
A big left turn is probably.
To other, yeah. And statistically, you will see left turns are the one with the most accident prone. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Big turn, and then either the person coming from that will run the red light, or you will make a turn on, like last moment or something. Okay, so that's how you reduce or eliminate your accidents. Okay, so and then they can look into the next group of accidents and come up with plans to stop accidents. That's the mindset of a QA. Mindset of QA is not like how to solve that problem fast by throwing more bodies and let them work faster, put in automation, or I'm going to throw more testers to catch more defects, or I'll put more developers to solve those defects. No, that's not a good idea. The idea should be, what can we do to avoid those defects? Okay. Have you heard the terminology where they rescuing the baby from the river? They're getting good at it, rescuing the babies. Somebody is dropping the babies in the river, and people are just busy saving the babies from the river. But nobody is going and stopping the guy who's throwing the babies in the river. Go stop that. You don't have to rescue babies in the river. Right? So that's the QA mindset. Okay. Good. So you guys solid now on difference between testing and quality assurance? Yeah? Software testing and software quality assurance. Good. Questions, concerns? I'll skip this one, but there is a book written by James Bach. It's called Lessons Learned in Software Testing. I'll go through that later. That's a good book to go. So there are some terminologies we use. Oops, my bad. Error, fault, defect, bug, and failure. There are subtle differences between these five. Let's deal with this first, defect and a bug. Okay, these two are actually same thing. And the fault also, like let's put these three together, group it in. But chances are in an interview they will not ask you what is fault and what is the between fault and bug. What they may ask you is, what is the difference between defect and a bug? Okay, so let's look at what is a defect first. the departure of a quality characteristics from its specified value. Resulting in a product or service not satisfying its normal usage or requirement. So if customer is asking for cheeseburger, large Coke, small fries, and you give them small Coke, large fries, it's a departure from requirements or departure from specified value. The specified value is coming from customers, so it's called requirements, right? So whenever there is a departure from what customer wants, it's a defect. Good? So what is a bug? I'm sorry? Please tell you again? Okay. Departure, you can say in this term, of quality from its requirement. I wanted A, you gave me A plus or A minus. A plus and A minus is a defect. You should not give me more, you should not give me less. Because the definition of quality is not meeting and exceeding customer expectation. It is meeting the customer expectation. Okay? So producer's perspective is we should meet the customer requirements, not exceed, not less. Okay? So if you do that, if there is any departure, either in the plus side or on the minus side, you have, that's a defect. Okay? So let's say this is your requirements, and you are giving customer this or this. Let's say this is 0 and this is plus and this is minus. You give them more, so this more part is a defect. You give them less, this is defect. Okay? What is customer asking? Give them. That's a quality product from producer's perspective. So what is that? The gap between what you gave to the customer, what customer wanted. That's a defect. Okay. Now, bug is informal way to say defect or fault. Do you all want to see the first software defect? Are you all interested in seeing the first software defect or a bug? First software bug. Do you think it's visually possible to see first software bug? Don't think so, right? But I'll show you now. I'm going to make you see the first software bug. I'm sorry? No, this is the first software defect. Bug, I should say. It was a real bug. And that's why they use the term software bug till today. Now, software bug is an informal way to say we have found a defect. Okay. And if you see, say, relay 70, panel F, and all that stuff, right? I don't know if you all remember the old doorbell. You press it, goes a brrr, right? And if you look at it, it's and some fire alarms are still the older ones. It has a big bell looking and a hammer hitting it. And if you remember your electromagnetic classes, if you take a wire, insulated wire, and wound it around a nail and pass voltage through it, the nail becomes magnetic, right? Okay, right? So relays are basically electromagnetic switch. What they do is, when you pass voltage through it, it pulls the switch to on or off. And when it's not energized, it releases the switch. So switch is off. So between the contact, this insect or moth got stuck. So it was not closing properly. And hello, Shri. Yeah. And the computer was not working properly, because those days IC chips and what transistors were not there. Basically, they were using mechanical switch to for the computer to do the calculation and stuff like that. And when they send the technician and say, "Hey, guess what? The relay, inside the relay, this mechanical switch, a bug got stuck, and the computer was not working because it was not making, the switch was not closing properly." Okay, so defect is informal way to say bug, and defect is a formal way to say that there is a variance from requirement. Good. But if you go and search for answers, you'll do Google interview questions for testing. What's the difference between bug and defect? The wrong definition out there is when customer finds it, when customer finds the issue in the product, it is called defect. But if it's caught before the customer gets it, we call it a bug, which is wrong. Okay. Thing is, when you're talking to the customer, you're formal. And when you're with your coworkers, you're informal. So you say, "Hey, I found a bug," right? But that's not what it means, bug and defect. It just basically means formal and informal. If you want to be formal with your coworkers and you want to use the word defect, go ahead, use it. No problem at all. Okay. So again, this is something that's coming from work experience, that customer finds it's a defect, we find it before customer, it's a bug. No. This is coming from work environment definition. This is not by IEEE standards or anything. Okay. So chances are when you'll go for an interview, they may ask you, what is the difference between the two? Now, if you say, "Hey, defect is this, bug is informal," they'll say, "No, you're wrong." The correct one is, and then you'll say, "No, by IEEE, this is what exactly it is." And then they'll be like, "Oh, so you're trying to say you know more than me? Fine. You don't have a job." Right? Now, someone may be like, say, "Wow, that's good. You know, this is good. You're reading books and attending seminars. You should be hired." But chance of that is very highly unlikely. Okay. One more thing I would like to ask you. Let's say you guys are hiring someone for a tester position. What key qualities are you going to look for? Very good. One of the first key thing you should look for is talent. Is, do they have the talent to find defects? Okay, because in testing world, you have to have this mindset of not only looking or testing the product as a normal user, but also you have to think in terms of abnormal user. Okay, what an abnormal user would do. So how would you, what are the key things? So that's one. Tell me three. So one, two more. Luann, do you want to participate? Let's say if you were hiring a tester, what other things would you